Hi folks, Paul Wilkinson here. This is a video about the new jazz piano exams by the Associated Board. For years we've had these books which have gone from grade 1 to 5, and in fact when these books first came out, I don't remember the exact date, these will be the original ones, 1998, right, yeah. I remember these being launched. I remember being involved in playing some of the examples at Leeds College of Music a long time ago. And so it's been a while coming, but we now have the jazz piano pieces going from grade 6 to 8, the book, and these start from 2026. So in this video I want to talk a little bit about it, explain some of the structure of it, maybe give you a few teaching tips as well a little bit, but I'm going to be doing a series of much more videos about this topic. So in this exam you've got 3 lists. You've got A, B and C, and you've got to pick one from each list, and then you've got to pick an extra one from the list, so you've got to do 4 pieces in total. So you pick one from A, one from B, one from C, and then you can go back and pick whichever other piece you want from the list that you're attracted to. Now there's a little bit structurally different. The C list is arrangement, so you'll see here, Old Lady Be Good. We've got a piano arrangement with improvised sections in it, which I'll talk about a little bit later in the video. But then what's really great is, for a jazz musician like myself, or a musician who plays a lot of jazz, you now have to play from lead sheets. So you've got to do quite a bit of lead sheet playing. Now you might be quite new to that. In fact, you know, a lot of jazz musicians have been talking about these exams for years, really, that they don't really foster what we do as musicians on an everyday basis that play jazz, and particularly pop music as well, where we're playing with a bass player and a drummer and maybe other instruments as well. So the Associated Board done a great thing. You've now got to play from lead sheets. I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment or two. And so there's a selection of lead sheets in list A and B, but list C is the arrangements, but still got improvisations within it. So yeah, what's great is that the Associate Board have done some backing tracks. So they've done some backing tracks that are available on all the streaming sites, and they've got a bass and drums on it so that you can play along with the lead sheet. So you've got to play the head, improvise, play the head, and then sometimes play a coda. Here's a little sample of me playing one from grade 6 in Walk Bud. Into the swing. So there you go, you can see how great that is, that you're actually playing with a bass player and drummer. Super fun. Us musicians have always played from an app called the iReal book, which is a bit wooden, it's got drums and bass on it, but it functions as a way of preparing to practice with real musicians who play these wonderful instruments. So great thing from the Associated Board that have done these backing tracks. It's worth saying these are performance exams that you can record at home, so you can submit them at your leisure whenever you like, which I think is a really good thing. The slight downside is I've just had a look at a couple of some of the lead sheets that are not well known to me, and I'm finding it a little bit hard to find the lead sheet. So I think maybe the Associated Board could do with, I think it might be worth them putting a link on their website so you can find the lead sheets. One in particular, I could just find only the saxophone lead sheet and not the concert key. Unless you're going to work it out by ear, that could be a challenge as well, which would be, might be nice for the student to listen to the recording and work it out. But if you're looking for the sheet music, there's a couple of them that are a little bit hard to find. The other thing, of course, is they're in different fate books, and the fate books are quite expensive, you know, the 20-25 quid. Could have been nice maybe if they'd have used edition 6 of the fate book and used all the tunes in there so that the students only needed to buy one real book. And in fact, real book, I think we're up to edition 6, is probably one of the most, it's the up-to-date one, it's got all the great standards in it. It's worth saying, just in the middle of this, there's not just one truth, and you know, for the path of exams might be great for some students and not great for others. And also, you know, even when you've done the grade 8 syllabus, I still think, as my teacher said to me, I'm at the bottom of the foothills looking at the top of Mount Everest. And it's nice to see that we've got a structure now where musicians can see their development and get awarded certificates and UCAS points and such like. And now to the improvising boxes. So in the pieces, you get these boxes where you can improvise, as you can see on the screen there. Now, traditionally, in the older exams, the notes have just gone up. And so the notes in the boxes, which give you indications about how you might improvise, have just gone up. As you can see from the newer edition, so they've just been ascending generally. As you can see now, we've got ascending and descending and broken up note heads as well, which I think is a really good thing, because, you know, having taught this since 1998, I've taught these pieces for quite a long time. So, you know, you can find that a lot of students just get attracted to the shape and play up and down, so it sounds very scalic. So the fact that they brought the notes up is a really good thing. I think the warning sign as a teacher would be that you might just find that your students just play those notes in that order without any kind of rhythmical inventiveness. So you've got to teach, you're going to have to encourage them there to move away a little bit from just the shape of the notes. I'm just going to give you students and music teachers just some other thoughts about how you might approach those boxes if you're not particularly a fan of the boxes. So you might want to name the scales. So a good thing to do is kind of name the scale structure. So if there's 4 bars of it being in F, explain to the student that the tonal centre for this section is F, and then we move to A major, for example, or whatever. You might want to talk about target notes that you want them to aim for. You might even want to talk about rhythmical cells. So you could write some rhythmical cells on the score that you want them to try and aim for. Swung quavers, dotted crotchet quaver, triplet rhythms, triplets without the first triplet, those kind of things. Graphic notation, you might want to use that. Dave Lehman's got a great book about the great jazz saxophone player. He's got a great book where he has contours, sort of shapes of lines. That might be something interesting to look at as well. Also indicating the tonal centre of the piece. Of course, all this can be a bit overwhelming for the student, so you've got to be wary of that if you're a student and also if you're a teacher. I thought just a brief interruption on this video just for a minute to talk about a book I've written called Harmonic Siblings, a study in chord progressions. It's available from Amazon and I'll put the link below. If you're interested in writing creative chord progressions, this has hundreds of musical examples and examines repertoire by some of the great pop musicians, jazz musicians and classical musicians. I'll put the link in the bottom, available from Amazon. So just a couple of more points. The grades 1 to 5, you have to do certain scales, and I do think it's interesting now that we've gone to this kind of performance exam where we really only early on in grade 1 to 5 cherry picked a few modes, Dorian, Mixolydian, Lydian. We never looked at Phrygian scale. I don't think we looked at Aeolian. We didn't look at the Locrian scale. We didn't look at broken chords in more complex keys. So I think if you're a teacher, I think it's really important that you supplement these piano exams by going through all the modes, explaining how the modes work. I think that's really important. And I'll just before I finish, I'll tell you a funny story. Because when I first wanted to study with Bill Kinghorn, who wrote the arrangements for some of these exams many years ago, my great teacher, he put up this really hard chord progression for me, and he said, "Would you improvise over it for me?" And it was really, a complicated chord progression. And I looked at it, and I was like, "Oh right." And I held on to one thing, and I just did. This is an example. I can't remember it, and I just did this. Bill said to me, "I will take you as a student because that was the answer." It was like Yoda, So yeah, it's interesting what you're going to have to be dealing with the boxes and how you're going to approach it if you're a student and a teacher. So I'm going to be doing a number of videos, but I shall pick some of the standards and show you how you might play some of what we call these contemporary voicings. Because when you're playing a standard, for example, when I played a bit of that in Wartburg, you're going to play these kind of contemporary chord voicings, often referred to as rootless chords, but be careful, they're not always rootless, some of these chords. So the book's available now, so maybe get hold of it if you're looking at doing your higher grades. Maybe you're not really fancying the classical route, but you want to maybe you did grade 5 jazz a number of years ago and you want to try and move on a little bit. I think it's a really good thing that we've got on the ground experience of being a jazz musician, playing with bass and drums, playing these rootless chord voicings. We've also got these nice arrangements done by some great British musicians in this country. One more thing, that I think there is one negative point that we do have in the first list. I wish I knew how it would feel to be free, which is also, I believe, in grade 3 jazz piano, and a lot of my students do that. So although it's a good arrangement in the book, I think it's Pete Churchill who's wonderful. So there's one piece less really in the arrangement, 5 pieces in each section. So essentially for a lot of my students there would be 4, because they've already played that piece, so they wouldn't want to do it. So as I said, I'm going to do some more videos about teaching it. If you're a teacher or a student new to this kind of thing and you want to understand these contemporary voicings, what scales you use, those kind of things, the improvisation, rhythmical content, subscribe for more videos like this, and I hope you found this video helpful, and thanks for watching.